Good morning out there, you aficionados of comic books and cool cats and kittens and music experts and vinyl record collectors and movie experts and all that good stuff. It is November the 5th, 2023, the end of daylight savings time. We are back on the normal time. We are back in sanity. We are back in the time where they have stolen an hour of your life and you have reclaimed it. You were not given that hour of life back. You had to take it back. So that's why we are having a decent hour for the Sunday morning comic book show. No, it is not a rainy day edition, simply because it's not raining outside, right? So it is currently 8:12 in the AM, exactly how it should be, coming at you from a different angle in the house, in the comic book room, because it is glorious of how many of these boxes I've rearranged, short boxes I have filled out, taking things down, moving things around, labeled, finding my posters again. There's my Empire Strikes Back and things like that, right? So I've got them lined all around. I have a closet here that I'm hoping to put some shelves in and start lining up the short boxes in this closet like they are on this shelf. There's another shelf there, all this good stuff going on. But in the meantime, last month and all the way up to yesterday, I'm naming this the amazing haul for October because what I picked up yesterday was meant to be picked up in October, and I'll get to that. So what we have today are things that have come in through eBay. Uh, a lot of eBay, a lot of great cheap prices, some dollar boxes, and there was a sale, a comic book shop in Bristol, Tennessee / Virginia, because it's on the state line. It's actually called State Line. The street that it's over for them is 39 years old. It's Mountain Empire Comics that I talk about quite a bit. They had a sale where a majority of the store was 39% off, at least on the back issues and things, right? And there's a little story there and a few Ollie's pickups. So I've got like half a short box of stuff to show as we enjoy our coffee. So I'm going to get a Princess Bride cup because that would have been more suitable for today where we reclaim that hour of life that was taken from us. Otherwise, I hope everybody had a great Halloween. Our Halloween, I live a couple miles outside of town. There's no kids trick or treating, but we did go to Abingdon to see a movie. I took my wife to see the 30th anniversary celebration of Nightmare Before Christmas that was playing at the Abingdon Cinema. And as we were leaving Abingdon on that Saturday night before Halloween, it was so great to see that there wasn't a trunk or treat going on. I hate those. I think those are lazy. I think those rob kids of an experience. Okay, I think those were more for parents than kids. But Abingdon, Virginia, man, they have Barter Theater. They have this great street. That was, I don't know if it's a historic district or not, but they have very old buildings going back to like 1700s or something. But anyway, Charles Best had his studio there for 30 years before he built it in his house. Charles Best lives in the Abingdon, Virginia area. But anyway, but as we were leaving, it was fantastic. They had 3 or 4 policemen at a few corners and stuff. People with their big historical houses and stuff had set up a table with the candy there to give it out, and there were tons of kids going up and down and crossing the road in Halloween for a couple miles there. It was fantastic. I don't usually like hark on family stuff and things like that, but it was very heartwarming, man. It was like the parents I saw were laid back, kids just let the kids do their thing for Halloween. So you got to understand, as a Gen Xer, if that's something that's important to you, I think you're going to find with most of us, Halloween was and is our favorite holiday. So good stuff here, right? So let's see who has popped up here in this early morning. John C. How are you? John C. is the role model, man. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Because now that we're going into the winter hours here, as we're into fall, autumn, if you will, going into the winter hours, there will be more live streams. There will maybe a video or two. So make sure you hit that bell because I'm going to get active here. I've been reading things. I've been reading my books. I have a few things to say about Micronauts. I have a few things to say about a lot of things. I have a few things to say about AI, if you're into that. The Sumerian is here, and Easy Comic Reader, the man who has my favorite thumbnail, my favorite whatever you call this, photo. And that is always my cue when I go blank like that to do this. Okay, guys. So I don't know if you know, just a few more minutes and I'll give people time to catch up here. We'll get to the comics. But I don't know if you guys agree or disagree or even think about it, but I hit these strides where I really look around and I do the thing where you slow down and you smell the flowers or whatever. And we look around and we are, we live in the greatest time in history, despite all the stressful times that we've had probably for like the last 8 years and stuff, right? Especially if you're political and stuff like that, right? But a few things happened where I actually got a little emotional there the other day, right? I would say it was 1978 as a young lad that I can recall the first time that I heard the Beatles on the radio, right? And you understand I was like 5 or something, right? Not saying that was the first time I heard the Beatles, not saying that was the first song, but radio back in the day at least was so much better than what it would be just a few years later, where they played everything. You could hear the Beatles, you could hear the Stones, you could hear a Dylan song, you could hear some crunchy redneck song, all on the same station, right? You never knew which one. I mean, it was usually Leroy Brown by Jim Croce, Big Bad Leroy Brown. Jim Croce, it would be followed up with like a Bee Gees song, right? And it was so fantastic. I remember hearing Strawberry Fields Forever. And then, of course, when it comes to the Rolling Stones, I have no idea where to tell you I heard them for the first time. It's like they've always been there, right? And we live in a time where we've had these guys are in their 80s, hitting 80s, and we've got a new Beatles song and we have a new Rolling Stones record. And I messed up and I listened to them back to back while I was driving and stuff, right? And I was just like, this is some kind of bookend. This is truly an end of an era. And I always take pop culture things, they're all one big picture to me. Music, comics, movies, some TV shows, they're all the same thing. So, you know, it was just amazing to hear John Lennon's voice come through there. I'm not even like a Beatle fanatic, you know what I mean? I'm an appreciator, you know what I mean? Believe it or not, I'm the Who. I'm the Who and the Kinks. The Stones took for granted what they were, and to see them going on there, and for me to reach the age that I am now, and to have been doing this YouTube thing for something like 13 years. There's a whole complete my entire 40s I was on here, which is amazing. To see these guys in their 80s still doing this, you know, kind of makes you want to just stop whining and realize you don't want to fall into a pattern, fall into a cliche, fall into a mindset, if you will, of just giving up. Now, how does that pertain to comics and stuff? Um, because even though I missed the golden age, even though I missed the silver age, even though I was born right there at the dawn of the bronze age and stuff, I grew up in a time where comics got validation, comics grew up. I was right there on the cusp, even though I didn't have a comic book shop, but I was hearing about things. I still had Crisis on the Infinite Earth, and I still had um, Squadron Mark Grunwald's Squadron Supreme at my fingertips to the rack. Yet I was hearing things about the Dark Knight Returns, and I was hearing about Watchmen and all these great things going on. Right, I missed all that. I missed all the indie stuff, but I still got great comics. They're all around. I had my stepdad's comics who came before me. I had things that were before me. I had the Silver Age and the Bronze Age at my fingertips reading it. I had my friend John when I was 7 years old, who lived across the woods. You've heard me talk about John and how he passed away and things. Who was an older kid was telling me about the Dark Phoenix saga when I had just read the Silver Age story of the first appearance of the Blob and things like that, right? So I had things before me and I came right in the middle where things were going up. And I have lived long enough to where we are seeing the steady decline of things, right? No doubt about it, but it's all at our fingertips. Things are getting cheaper. If you stay away from the spec market and think and use your brain, I want to show you some things that I got. The game is played and changed where it's at your fingertips. Your experience now can get you pretty much anything you want, whether it be in trade or trade or reprint or dollar comics or print or facsimile editions and stuff, right? So all depending on what's there, it's all right there. It's a great time. You know, it's all there. And case in point, hey, Easy comic reader. I'm 50. I totally get where you're coming from about music. Absolutely right. So I'm a bit of a reactionary when it comes to the YouTube channel. Right. If I get pumped up reading something or pumped up hearing about some news and stuff, man, I'm right here. I want to talk about it. It's great. If I read something, it pumps me up. And yet, when comics are on the decline and they just suck, and I got proof here. If I didn't toss them, I'm pretty sure I brought them down. You'll be amazed and stuff like that. I just get bummed out and want to hang out where things are great or better. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to waste my time hating on things, even though I think there's a balance to criticize and vent and stuff, right? But it's been interesting, man. I've had a little bit of time to think, got a little bit of sleep, and like I said, the daylight savings time fiasco is over for a few months. So we're going to start out slow here. We're going to start out slow, right? Look, okay, we've got people piling in. It's fantastic. All right, so basically, if you remember a few weeks ago, I showed this off. I think on this channel, or maybe it was on the Fossils Graphic Man's channel. I don't know, but anyway. It's a slipcase cover that I found at Ollie's a few months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. It's celebrating Peanuts, right? It is a slipcase of 2 books. One book is Everything Snoopy, all the Snoopy strips collected in one spot, and the other one is collecting Peanuts. Let's see how they describe this, okay? This unique box set includes 2 curated Peanuts collections sold together for the first time. Celebrating Snoopy contains every single comic strip starring that iconic beagle. And Celebrating Peanuts, that's the second book, is packed with comics, commentary, and Peanuts trivia spanning the strip's half century in when it was ran, right? So take all that in, right? So this was a slipcase I thought was fantastic. $90 is what the original retail price was, $16 from Ollie's outlet. Haven't even came it out yet, had it on the bookshelf, right? So over the years, I've kept an eye out at Ollie's. I go there if you watch my videos, you know, probably since about 2016, they've had great deals because they bought $13 million worth of DC trades out of a warehouse. And they've always had Marvel stuff coming in and a few comics here and there. So there was a big boom that is responsible for much of this shelf right here, these bookshelves and filling up. Already had stuff, don't get me wrong. And I don't remember what these were because as soon as I get rid of these, as soon as I get these home, I go to work getting the stamp off. So books over the past, I had the big books of Peanuts. This is every comic strip of Peanuts from the 70s, my golden era. And the big book of Peanuts from the 50s. So they have 70s, 80s, 60s, and all that stuff, right? They were $8. Yeah, $40, $8 value. These were $40 books for $8. I thought I'd gotten that off there, right? So what is the significance of this, right? Are you going to be talking about Peanuts and comics or to yourself, Tim? Well, when I was a kid, it was reading comics and watching cartoons and reading the TV guide to see when these specials were coming on. But Charlie Brown and Snoopy were huge to me, right? And I would draw them all the time. These are probably some of the first things I drew. And I actually won an art contest in 1977 when I was about 4. I know it was the summer before I was going to start kindergarten, so I was 5, probably 5. And I won an art contest for drawing a huge by memory crayon version of Snoopy, of Charlie Brown and stuff, right? So they were always a thing for me. Yet in the 80s, when I'd get the comic strips, of course I would read the Peanuts, but it was Far Side. I was getting the 80s being the 80s, there was a certain kind of melancholy that were there and just a tad of darkness that I think really popped up in the 82. We're talking things like Blade Runner and The Wrath of Khan. You get what I'm saying? We're not going goth. That's not what we're saying, though. He says as he wears the Crow sweatshirt, right? So in the 80s, I still loved Charlie Brown. I actually stopped watching South Park when they had an Imagination Land episode where you could see Charlie Brown get blown up and does his famous arg as his body parts fly away. And people at work knew that's why I stopped watching South Park. I didn't really have to say anything. I came back around. I was just emotional, So those are old, right? Well, the thing is I kept my eye out and they never came back around, right? Until this, right? So I've got the decades that I really, really want, right? And that is Peanuts by the Decade, a $25 purchase for a $90 set of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, all of the Peanuts. Now, Fantagraphics came out with these year by year Peanuts editions that were really oddly shaped, and I stayed away from those like the plague, right? And I'm so glad I did. This is all I need. This is what I need. I don't think the Sunday editions Sunday edition strips are in color. So let me flip through here real quick. That may not have been a thing until the 80s, to be honest with you, maybe the 70s. So that'll be interesting to see. So I'm good. I'm set with my Peanuts, and I will have memories come up because I was the guy that would clip out my favorite strips daily and things like that and try to keep them together. I'm so glad I have a complete Far Side because those disintegrated. All right, so let me get those out of the way and we can move on. Great stuff. So this is what I'm saying. It's great to be at the ground level of things. It's great to be in the know before it comes a thing, but there's a price. There's a price for knowing about things and then seeing it later exploited and gutted and just look horrible, right? And for the people who don't go as far back as people like Jared Osborne and Easy Comic Reader and John C. and I and things like that, you younger people, your Marvel movies. Let's look what happened to your Marvel movies. It's kind of hard to believe that we're going on, is it 15 years of the Marvel proper universe? I'm not talking about Blade and the stuff that came before that, going back to Howard the Duck, the first real Marvel movie and stuff, but seeing how seen what's happened in the last couple of years and checking out the Panderverse from South Park, I was like, well, everybody's going to know what everybody around here is known for a while, you know. So let's check that and slowly get into these comics. What we got here? John C. I'm 50 as well. That brings back memories. I was 15 the first time I walked into a local comic book shop. Batman versus Predator 3. Nice, nice. Things are in decline. What are you talking about? I buy 6 to 10 new comics a week, and most of them are really good. Get out of the Marvel and DC ghetto and open your eyes to good new comics. Okay, Jared will show his comics on Wednesday that he's buying. We've been in a golden age of comics for the last decade. There are more good comics than I can afford, and I don't buy a single thing from the big two. Okay, Jared, well, that's cool, man. I'm loving the facsimile editions. Yeah, it really blows my mind how there's been things said about not wanting to go back. We need to move forward with things. And yet, some of the facsimile editions actually are pricey, which blows my mind. I mean, it's essentially a reprint, but it's a reprint proper with the original ads and letter columns and all that stuff. It blows my mind. I think the big one is Werewolf by Night 32, which just is amazing. I'm surprised the specs haven't really jumped on it more, but I have a few things to show that'll blow your mind with the spec stuff, right? So anyway, we took the wife out. It's her birthday. Birthday is coming up, so where it was during the week, we went ahead and went out on the weekend, had a great time, and believe it or not, on State Street, and I felt pretty good because I was like, how did I miss this? Going to Bristol, it's about an hour and 20-minute drive for me, right? So when I get there, it's find somewhere nice to eat, walk up and down State Street a little bit, try to decide if I'm going to go on down the road to a flea market, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of decisions, all kinds of trying to regulate your time. And I have found out that right around the corner, I go to the Paramount every now and then. Who did I see last? I've seen oh my god, Everclear. Last band I saw was Everclear at the Paramount Theater. Went to see Clue at the Barter and Abingdon and stuff. So, we get over there, we make a day of it and try to do the best of it. And there's a Cheap Thrills record store there. And I was just sort of like, how long has this been there? Turns out it's just been through April. So probably 5 or 6 times I've missed it. Didn't know it was there, which is all right. No biggie, right? So I was able to get this. I put this on Instagram. Follow me on Instagram as Howler Mouse there. If you sometimes I show a few things, sometimes I open a few things up and go into more depth than what I show here, right? But I found a double album soundtrack for the Watchmen for a steal. It's a record store day exclusive on RSD. Marky316 commented on my Instagram to let me know that it's an RSD edition. Apparently that's a thing and it's a nice find. A lot of my records, most of my records I find them for $3 to $5 at record shops that are the first printing, and that's usually enough for me. I've got 5 or 6 brand new records of how they mix them, and I'm sure technology has happened. I get it. They sound much better than it's still mono, so I don't know how they've mixed them. And I'm not really that interested. 5, 10 years ago, I would have dived in to see how they do this and stuff, right? But this is enough for me, man. Every now and then I pull out the record player, I get real quiet. Those are the actual vibrations that were in the room. Um, digital stuff. I'm not that big of a snob when it comes to how it sounds coming out of a speaker. You know what I mean? I'm not real worried about it. I like Queen songs where if you have your headphones on, the sound goes back and forth. I get into the experience. So yeah, as long as it doesn't come out sounding like crap, I'm good. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, this is a double album. I'm going to have to be brave and open this and stuff, right? So the first one is the soundtrack of the songs that they pulled from the Watchmen and stuff. Times are a changing, all along the Watchtower. Something that's very cool is they have a song called Pirate Jenny by Nina Simone. And if you have the Black Freighter cartoon, that's the song they have at the end of Black Freighter, which they did separately and then put the cartoon in the Ultimate Edition stuff. I have the DVD over here with just it. And then, of course, Tyler Bates, his original score for The Watchmen. So it's 2 albums. Unsealed. I mean, it is sealed, unplayed. And this my Watchmen collection just keeps growing because, as Ozymandias said, or as Dr. Manhattan said, nothing ever really ends. What's up? What we got here? Facsimile edition talk. John C. loves the facsimile editions. Jared Osborne, I like facsimile editions, but I could do without the $8 facsimile editions. I get them in dollar boxes or I get them 35% off through a pre-order. I will not pay retail for modern comics. It's ridiculous, the pricing. Last comic got off my phone, not my laptop. It's cool, man. It's cool. We're here all morning. Hey, Ramos. Well, good morning. Good to see you, man. I thought you were going to do your morning walk. Yes, follow Ramos Comics on we'll say Instagram. Feel free to plug yourself and stuff. I actually get weekly reports, of course, through my phone on what apps I'm on, and usually it's YouTube because I listen to radio dramas, audiobooks while I'm driving, and then I listen to rain and things like that to help sleep at night when I can get sleep. What we got here? If you never open it, then you'll never enjoy it. Absolutely, Jonathan. Absolutely. Sequential Geek. I do think of those things. There's a whole process. Sequential Geek. Good morning. Good morning to you too, man. And the Sumerian, great stuff. Service spotty here. I'll catch the rest of it later. You do what you got to do, Sumerian. You do what you got to do. Yeah. Okay, man. So I'm gonna try not to like bust some stuff, but I had some new comics given to me when our person who owns Mountain Empire Comic Book Shop, he and I had a talk yesterday. But he gave me some free comics. These are trick or treat editions or something. And I've got to tell you, man, I avoided this like the plague. I don't like the writer. She's one of those people in social media just ruined it for me. And I got to tell you, man, um, very bad comic. So I got that for free. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, I'm making up my mind here. Yes, we're going to stay positive. So let me show you what I got in a place called Bluefield, Virginia while I was traveling for work and took a lunch, right? So these are really cool to me, right? These are really cool, right? If you like Howard Chaykin, and I found out Howard Chaykin is going to be at Big Lick Comic Con in Roanoke, Virginia, I think in February. I don't really enjoy that con because there's not a lot of comic book vendors, okay? And that's it. A lot of people are enthused by it. It's a great time to go visit Roanoke to get in there and stuff. Not a horrible con. I wouldn't tell anybody not to go to the Comic Con that Big Lick throws. They throw a few of them. They're a comic book store, and apparently they're really big. They throw several comic book conventions throughout every year. But they have Howard Chaykin there, and I know a lot of people would love to talk about Howard Chaykin's Big Kiss and all the great stuff he's done and everything like that. But my favorite Howard Chaykin work is his Thrill Killer stuff. There was 3 issues or 4 issues, a 3-issue miniseries with Dan Barrington, and this one shot that came out after it, Thrill Killer Thrill Killers was the first miniseries. It's in trade. I've got the floppies and stuff. And then they had this one shot that came out that followed it, right? And this is my favorite work by Howard Chaykin. I got tons of stuff he's wrote and other people did. You either like him or not. He's very hit or miss and stuff, right? And the painted work and this, but this is a Batman story, if you will, more Batgirl centric, if you will, in the early '60s, and it's very pulpy and it's very beatnik. Robin's basically a dumb beatnik and stuff like that. And I swear I don't know how Chaykin. I wasn't alive in 1961, but I feel like I'm there when I read this little series, right? I like the mood. I like the series. I like the fact that it hasn't been exploited. I like that it's 4 issues and it's not talked about. This is one of those things I can pull down. I've talked about this before, right? So I finally had the original, right? I've only had this one in trade. I've had, so I got that and that was fine, right? And you guys can, if you guys keep up with the modern guys, Donny Cates, right? There's another writer, I think, who has a name similar to his, right? And I'm pretty sure he's feeling some hard times. I think if this is the guy, I think he was in a car wreck about 6 months ago. I think he's gone through a divorce. And allegedly, there were some talks about drugs. He was like the hot writer at the time. I remember seeing him popping up on YouTube videos and whatnot and all this stuff. Well, I got this more for the Watchmen uh, cover that it is. I was following this on eBay, found it for 99 cents. And then I walked into the store that had that book, and I turn around and here's a signed edition of Venom number 11 with the Venom cover, and it comes with a certificate of authenticity that this is signed by the writer from Midtown Comics. Now, how this ended up from New York all the way down here to that's the West Virginia state line, about 4 miles past the West Virginia state line down, Virginia, West Virginia. Got a pretty good deal on this, right? But I did not really haggle the guy on this, man. I was on my lunch break. I was in a hurry. I'd already gone through a few boxes. He didn't really have too much that I needed. And then bam, I saw this Watchmen. I had my Watchmen box right here somewhere. Anything that has Watchmen goes in the box, right? So that was a very cool find for lunch break, right? Then I turn around and there's certain things going on to where, as you can see, that I've constantly talked the last couple months about rearrange the room, boxing stuff, put things on shelves. And what is going on is I'm finding out that this great time that we have where we can look back and find things in dollar boxes and online and it feels like almost everything is in trade, which it's not, but it feels that way. But I turn around and I'm realizing that we have, and I think Carl Sagan said this when I was a kid. I watched Carl Sagan on PBS, just like everybody else did, right? And I swear, I think I'm gonna have to look it up to see if there's a clip. There was a clip where he was talking. He had a little segment. He was talking about books, and it applies to here. So I'm not acting like this is an original thought, okay? But I understand now. But like with all the books that I have 15,000 plus catalog and at least 3,000 more I need to get around to cataloging, right? And I've always talked about a big purge because in my lifetime, there's just so much I'm going to read. And it's great to read. And this goes along with books, my Moorcock, my Elric, my Douglas Adams, my, I've got a little shelf here and some boxes and stuff, right? My Isaac Asimov and stuff, right? And it's not so much trying to read. In a lifetime, a person could read, like, they read a book a week. Carl Sagan says something like it could be 1,000 books would take 50 years. I don't know what he said, right? But what the real thing is to figure out what to read, right? You read what you like, read what you enjoy, but there's such a glut out there. I think you do need to take a little bit of time to make sure you are reading something you are going to enjoy or get something out of and stuff, right? And when this book came out, 2008, 9 or something like that, G-Marked G2K Games was a store that they wanted me to manage because when they opened up in 2005, they were opened up in a mall. And I actually lived sort of across the road from the mall. And when I came in, it was video games and used video games and a few other things. And then they were going to do the comics. And I actually came in there and helped them out with picking what comics to pre-order. I pretty much ran a comic book shop for, I don't know, 6 or 7 months back in the 90s when I shouldn't have, because it wasn't my job. The owner just got really into Battletech and hiding from his wife and disappeared on me, and I just kept things going. So I got to know the people that were in there, and the people who ended up working there, they ended up being my stepdad's friends' kids grown up. So we all sort of remembered each other from like when they were little kids and I was the older guy and stuff, right? And then Grant Morrison came out with this book. I'd been reading Morrison probably since about 1990, if I had to guess. I didn't really get to my first comic shop until 88, and then it was sporadically, but 1990 hit. Got me some Animal Man, you know what I mean? Things like that, right? So as being, I got a whole short box over here, a whole long box of Grant Morrison stuff. And if you read Grant Morrison, you can kind of put together that he has this little secret Grant Morrison corner in that he put that everything he writes will tie into it. He did X-Men for Marvel, but he came back to DC and he did this 3-issue miniseries called We Three with three animals that actually is the third experiment for Weapon X, even though he doesn't say it. They all kind of, everything he does kind of ties in. Well, when he did his Justice League, he did Rock of Ages and this great story, Dark Side Is, came in there. And he come back years later and he got to do a crossover event where we got Final Crisis. Now, I got Final Crisis. I've got all the floppies. I got a bunch of crossovers. I absolutely love this because Grant Morrison wrote a story where you either knew the comics or you didn't. He did not spoon feed. He pulls a god-killing bullet full of a virus that he got out of Jack Kirby's Commandy in this. He had Anthro and Commandy meet the first boy, the last boy. If you go back and read I'm pretty sure it's Rock of Ages, where Dark Side Is, this is the future that was in that Justice League story 10 years before this and stuff, right? But, he pulled some stuff there where there's a version of the Atom in the future where part of his costume is white. Well, and I'm convinced if I ever met Grant Morrison, this is the question I would ask, is if you go back to the 70s and you go to like the editorials, letter columns, advertisements, whatever it was, they used to have a circle of floating heads that was the Justice League. And they miscolored. They didn't color it in, but they had a version of the Atom where he was in white. They didn't put the blue in. And I always felt like he just went ahead and made that a costume for the Atom. So the people at G2K Games, we talk comics, talk about a few things. I was still traveling for work. I'd find Watchmen in issues of random Watchmen and books I know they wanted in dollar boxes across the state. Come in, look at Wizard magazine, figure out how much they're worth, give them a discount. They kept me going. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There are years where I'd never touched my paycheck for comics and stuff, right? So when it came to this, they could not figure out to go ahead. Do I want to buy this? Do I want to get it? And one retailer looked at the other. Brennan looked at Matt and said, Tim said this was cookie cutter made for him. And Matt pretty much said, fuck that. Okay, so I went ahead and got a hardcover edition so that I can just pull it off the shelf and not get the floppies. And that's what's happening. I'm getting to where I'm boxing this stuff up, but there's things I do know I want to go back and reread. Now, if you get the soft cover edition of that, they have 2 issues that he was working on Batman at the time. He has 2 issues of Batman in there, and right on the covers, those great Alex Ross covers, there's 2 issues that say Final Crisis. I had those issues, and I went ahead and I had them on order on eBay. I found them for $1.50 a piece, so they're on their way. Alrighty. So now, excuse me. Oh, we have a lot of new comics. Okay. There's probably about 16, 17 books in here that aren't new comics. I'm just arranging things. So let me get to where I can just pull these out and we can have a little bit of fun. All right. Now, these are not in really a specific order, if you will, right? But I was telling you at the beginning of the show, excuse me. There we go. So I was talking towards the beginning of the show about how Mountain Empire Comics had their 39th anniversary sale. A lot of things were 39% off. But unfortunately, the person who owns it had a stroke. He was recovered by the next day. And when I finally got to talk to him yesterday, he feels like, I think that said the doctors told him, or he feels like that it's sort of like an earthquake. You get the tremor, the bad one's coming. He's in his late 60s. He's had the shop, like I said, for 39 years. And he's more worried about his dog. He does rescues. He rescues greyhounds. And he's had a greyhound named Lily that has had a lot of I don't know if she broke her leg, but she had a lot of problems with her leg. And the people that run the shop for him when he's not there feel like he was stressed out over the dog, which helped contribute to the stroke. And it turns out that when I got in there and started talking to him yesterday, they had to amputate the dog's leg. So he has a three-legged greyhound dog rescue. He's done the rescue for years and advocated for it and stuff, right? Despite, over 35 years of going in there off and on and stuff like that, having our ups and downs and things like that. I'm not going to act like we're best friends, but there's just a comfortable familiarity where we could talk for hours, and it has happened before about just anything and nothing. It's a good relationship. So basically, while he was gone during that stroke, he had three people, younger people, running the shop, and they were trying to act like I got a handful of books that I'll show later on during the day of the sale, to where they tried to tell me it was $74. Now, I am 30 years older than these kids, and I know that they're trying to do their best, and they got a lot of people in there and stuff like that. But no, those books were not worth that. Even at 39% off, it'd have been $40. So I grabbed a few things, went one through one, one at a time with the book, saying, how much is this? How much is this? And I'll get to those and stuff, right? So I put a bunch of books back, went and talked to him yesterday, pulled out the books that I had put back and said, just give me these for $1 a piece. He said, okay. Okay. So the original people running the shop while he was gone, trying to do a good job for him, were totally trying to overprice me for these books. It's a lot of responsibility for a young kid, right? So my whole thing is, watch what you're doing when you go to a comic book shop, but always kind of try to keep in mind if something like that is going on. Don't just immediately think the worst of people. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. You can wait. Always be willing to walk away for a good deal. That's what I'm trying to get at. So there's only 3 issues of this that came out through our Avatar. This is Alan Moore's Glory. And I would say get this only if you are an Alan Moore completist. I don't really remember the history of this. This is back in the late 90s when Alan Moore was doing some stuff for Rob Liefeld, and he was over here doing some stuff for Kitchen Sink, and he was getting this From Hell out and things like that, and the Lost Girls. It's all over the place, but only 3 issues of this came out: 0, 1, and 2. So I just need number 2. And this Glory, number 0, every one of them has tons of covers, so you can have your pick. And this is actually just sort of an outline, a preview of what's coming, a little black and white art, a little bit of him talking about where it came from. So that was cool to find. I'm going to do it. I want to end up getting, I don't know, I think I got like 32 issues now, or somewhere around in that range. I haven't really checked, but Airboy, I'm going to do it. As I have talked, I have just become infatuated with those books and things that I couldn't get in the 80s, but saw advertisements from. And I'm not going to lie, I feel pretty good about it, because I've been very objective. I'm not just getting it to have a complete little line of comics or dead universe, however you want to look at it and stuff. But I'll tell you what, man, it's no secret, it's no epiphany. I'm not, no breaking news here, man, but I'll tell you what, Eclipse put out some good shit. Like Epic Comics put out some good shit under Archie Goodwin and stuff, right? And I'm not sure what to tell people. Like, I don't want to act too excited and have you go out. You got to remember, these are still indie books, right? But the Airboys are super cheap. Chuck Dixon drawing them. Still got some of that indie feel to it. I think the only one I'm going to have a problem get is whatever it is, number 6, number 8, that Dave Stevens First Appearance of the Valkyrie cover. My first real Eclipse comic in the top of my head that I can remember, doesn't mean I'm right, not saying it's the first one I got, was the Total Eclipse crossover, where they did their version of Cross and Different Earths for their 10th anniversary that they got Marv Wolfman on. This is where I found Bean. I'd already seen things in Amazing Heroes and advertisements and stuff, but like Bean World and Airboy and things like that, that's where it came from. This one is waterlogged, but it's okay. These were, pretty much $1. Steel Wolf. And then Cerebus. They had about 6 issues of Cerebus I didn't need. I am trying to get every issue of Cerebus from number 25 all the way to 200, and I am really close. But they have 4 or 5 issues I didn't have. He did want $3 a piece for those, so I just got number 32. And believe it or not, I still need to get the High Society trade. I have not read the complete story of High Society of Cerebus, where it really took off and started. Well, such a faux pas. And I feel like I read it in the 90s. I think I borrowed somebody's trade around the time the 0 issue came out. So yeah, I've read it, but it didn't stick with me. And I want to say I'm 98% sure I did read it. You know what I mean? I could be wrong. Not that anybody's going to quiz me and shut my door and be like, liar, you know. The X-Files top series, again, I don't know what's some of these series. I'm much more forgiving or something, but wasn't real impressed with this. Not that it wasn't that it was bad. I've said it here before. I was an X Files junkie. I've still got the TV guide with their first appearance. I bought off the rack. I've got my Rolling Stone X Files covers framed upstairs that I bought a dollar frame at a dollar store when they came out in the 90s, and they've been in there ever since and things like that, right? But the comic book of all things, I just kind of flipped through a couple of them, was like, not for me. They're fantastic. They're good. They're just solid. They're just exactly what you expect. It's an X-Files story in here. These are new stories. They did have a series where they started adapting the seasons and the episodes and things like that. But here's number 4, number 14. I want to say there was 40 of these, 47, somewhere in the 40s. I've got about half of them now. I think I've got 22 of these. And like I said, these were the books that, this is the one that got me, right? I've already taken the stickers off, but these had little dots on them. At the day of the sale for Mountain Empire, if you have seen me at conventions, Charlton 66 has seen me, Comic Hoarder has seen me, I'm sure some other people have seen me. I am a machine. I am a machine. You can leave me for 5 minutes and I will already go through 3 long boxes and have a stack. Okay. So I'd gone through these the day of the sale, and they were trying to charge me $3 to $5 a piece for for these in particular, the ones I'm showing you here. These are very common books. Okay, this one's a little bit of a key, but anyway, this is number 14 with Ethan Van Sciver cover and Ivan Rice art in it. Now, this is the thing about the Green Lantern Volume 4, where Jeff Johns took over proper on Green Lantern. They kept some great artists on this. This is a great series to complete. This is probably, to me, Jeff Johns peaked with Green Lantern going into Blackest Night. And this is number 28. Mike McCone on here in the art. Just some of my favorite guys. I met Ivan Rice at Here's Con years ago. And I should have bought a Superman page for $100. He had original art. He lives in, I think he said he lived in South America. We're going back to 2010, guys, 2009, 2010. But I think he said he lived in South America, and I couldn't figure out why he was selling his art so cheap. And being suspicious, that's exactly why I didn't buy anything. You know, I was like, well, why is he selling this so cheap? You know what I mean? I was very suspicious. Don't ask me why. Too good of a deal. There's nothing to it. It was just me looking a gift horse in the mouth at the time. All right. So anyway, and then Miss Tree number 1. And Miss Tree number 1, and I think a lot of people kind of don't get this, that know this stuff, right? Say it slow fast. Miss Tree, Mystery. She's a publican, she's a private dick, whose husband was assassinated like 8 years before on a case and all this stuff, right? And this is the quarterly editions. Not around 1990, you had a bunch of quarterly comics coming out. You had Justice League Quarterly. You had the Question moved to this, and you had Miss Tree. These were like 80 pages, and it's all right. You know, if you like the hard-boiled stuff that's a little bit sanitized because it's from the big two, that's fine. And they brought back the Midnight in the back of this, which really blew my mind with some great Graham Nolan art. They put the Midnight. Midnight was more or less somebody who I discovered in All-Star Squadron. And it turns out that was an old 40s character, maybe 50s character, who was basically a rip of the Spirit. But anyway, they put him in here in modern times, 1990 and stuff, right? It's kind of a cool effect, but there's a reason you never heard of it, right? So I've got the first 3 issues of Miss Tree, if you will. She has her fans. Max Allen Collins has her fans. And there's a really good prose story here that I was starting to check out, where it's Denny O'Neil and Mike Grell. And like I said, it's prose. It feels like it's a chapter out of a book, and it's got some sketches and stuff that Mike Grell did of Batman. So just a little something there that's kind of fun. So yeah, those were yesterday's purchases. So when I get to the other stuff from the sale, you're going to see they tried to charge me $72 for these and a few other books. So I was like I said, you gotta be careful there, man. Just don't roll over. You know, I roll over every now and then just because I don't feel like it. Now these are dollar books that I still got a deal on. Yeah, these are all mixed up, right? But these were part of a dollar box. So when it comes to Crisis, I have a Crisis box over here, right? And I will buy Crisis books if I find them in dollar bins and stuff. And I'm starting to see these things being $8, $12 and up, not just for number 7 and number 8. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what the thing is. I don't know if it's where these books are officially closer to 40 years old than anything. The print runs in the 80s and 90s are so huge on books. I don't understand why books like Spawn #1 that sold 1 million copies, how that could be worth $30 to people and stuff. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to let it go, you know. So anyway, but I found this. So this is a dollar comic. I think this is from 2017 or 19 or something, right? But it's a facsimile edition. So this will go right in there, right? Now, the great thing about getting this dollar comic, which is obviously a reprint, is when the original Crisis on Infinite Earths came out, this pissed George Perez off really bad. Basically what they did is they had a new plate. Oh, wait, Jared's here. He probably knows more about it, technically about what's going on, but they were referred to as plates of how they were coloring things. So Crisis on Infinite Earths comes up. George Perez is drawing like tons of characters, blowing it out of the water with the artwork and everything like that. And then he opens up that first issue. And they did this with the first issue of Who's Who, #1 also. I noticed, everybody noticed, but the plates had slid. So all the coloring on it is off. You know what I mean? Like it's you know, if it's a face, it's you know, you have the perfectly peach colored face in the shape of a head, but it's slightly to the left, and you have you know the outlines in a white section on their face, and everything was colored like that, right? So I had the a beat up trade paperback that I found at a I think an antique shop or something for $2 or $3, and they fixed it. The recoloring in this is just amazing. Very few books do I really pay attention to the recoloring or what they're going to do. Miracle Man, I was sort of disappointed with the coloring. Not that there was anything wrong with it. Just that the 4-color feel of it from the 80s seems to me suited better. To me, Miracle Man should always be a period piece. It should always be in the 80s, except for when Neil Gaiman took over and some time is gone by. Okay. And then, you know, we talk about reclaiming your childhood and stuff, right? I got these. There is in my mind, that if you're a Captain Marvel fan, you've got the CC Beck stuff. Then you have was it E. Nelson Brindle? And I can't believe I'm going blank on it, but if you get some world's finest books, the dollar issues where it was like 80 pages or whatever it was, they were really stacking them up. They did a more realistic art style by a fantastic artist. I keep wanting to say it's Alan Weiss, but that's not right. But it's that kind of style, Al Weiss. And then he was fighting the devil and stuff, right? That's an era. But then you have the Roy Thomas stuff where he did DC Comics Presents with Shazam, and then he came back. That was like in the 30s of the series. And then around issue 48 or 49, you had Black Adam appear, and it was Roy Thomas doing it again. Roy Thomas threw him in All-Star Squadron, and then he came out with the miniseries after Crisis and Legend. This came straight out of the Legends miniseries. This is where more or less everything that Roy Thomas had planned, worked on, did with All-Star Squadron since about 1981, Infinity Incorporated with the back series, everything that he had just really built. Crisis comes out, and there's no longer an Earth 2 where all his books take place and all his planning. So this was a bit of a swan song. And I bought this, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I really didn't like it. I was a Shazam fan. I don't know, it just felt too real. There was something about Shazam where I think the target really is the kid. But the biggest thing is Roy Thomas did it to where in this body of an adult, it was Billy Batson's mind in Captain Marvel. And that's not Captain Marvel to me. So it's all about what direction the character is. It was a creative difference. Not a bad story. I've been a huge Black Adam fan since 1980 or 81 when I saw the Filmation cartoons on a Saturday morning show. That's where I found Black Adam. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. So yeah, that 4-issue miniseries, I had it off the stands, read it, purged it somewhere along the line. And then this was really interesting to find, right? So like I said, I've got a long box of Grant Morrison over. I'll do comments here in a minute. I got a long box over here, like Grant Morrison stuff. I got a Green Lantern, his 3 volumes he did. I've got some things around here. That's right. Grant Morrison is somebody I know what I'm getting into. I'm not going to say that everything he's written has ever been like a masterpiece in my eyes, but I always like how at least he's original. You know what I mean? You really don't. There's nothing predictable when you open up one. All right. So this is going to be interesting, going all the way back to 1990, at least for America here. We didn't really discover Grant Morrison until about 88, 89. And this is from 1990, and it's from Trident Comics that I've never heard of before. But I had heard about Saint Swithin's Day just from looking at bibliographies of of Grant Morrison. It's the only reason I even knew this existed. But I can't tell you anything about it. But I do know this was from some magazine or comic or something, and it was 4 chapters. And we have a one shot where those 4 chapters are collected. And that's all I can tell you about it. I was just going through the dollar box, saw this, sat there going, why is this familiar? Actually went back to the box, looked it up again because I couldn't get out of my head. And sure enough, I finally slowed down and saw Grant Morrison's name. So a little experiment that I'm going to read today, black and white, indie art. There you go. So before I get to this other stuff, let's see who is here. Wow, man, keep the comments coming, guys. I love it. Prime Collector, how much did you get the Watchmen record for? $23, sir. And like I said, when I get records, $1 to $5. To me, I enjoy finding these things, and price is a big deal for me. But when you see that, now here's what's cool. They had 2 of them. The first one I found was $25 or $26. I found this one priced for 22 and some change, right? $22.98, excuse me, $23 basically. So the other one was probably closer to $26 or $27. And they're the same thing. And I'm looking at them. I'm trying to be cool, like I'm acting like I'm in a comic shop. This is a record store. The guy's not watching me and going to haggle price and all that stuff. So I'll go there and I ask them, I'm like, never sealed. Is there a difference here? Stuff like that. They just had one mispriced that was probably, we'll say $4 cheaper, because like I said, that's a fantastic deal on that. I'm sure if you play around online, you're going to find some for $17, $18, but I am pretty sure that I saw these editions. One record is Watchmen Yellow, one record is Watchmen Blue. I guess that makes a difference. I don't know. But I have seen them go for $60 to $75 on eBay, which it's eBay. You can't trust those prices. Hey, good morning, awesome hoodie. Thank you. Appreciate it. We are downstairs, so it is always cooler in the house. It is probably about 56 to 57 degrees, which is perfect for me down here. I've had a bit of a cold, so I apologize, guys. Okay, Chaikin was a lot of fun. The one time I met him, got to hang out with him. That is fantastic. I think I would suspect your setting would be different than the rest of us there, Jared. That's what I'm thinking. Of course, he got it for the Watchmen. Yes. Yes, I did. Better not open and read it so it will help maintain the condition. I hear you. Oh, no. Dramatic. You should add Peter Kane and Thunderbolt by Karen Gillian and Casper to your collection. It's a good meta commentary on Watchmen. I've heard of this before. I think Charlton 66. I think I'm sure Paolo. I've run across some recommendations on there for that. Bike ride. Enjoy your bike ride. Try not to run over Ramos on his walk. Sounds forgettable. I don't know which bike we're talking about. Airboy's great. Some classic Dave Stevens covers early on. I got the whole run on eBay for $40 years ago. That's fantastic. I've been finding them for $1 and less. And I had a couple of my collection. That's why I got started. I was organizing my books, and I'm like, when did I get this? How did I get this? And I found out I had issue 1 and issue 50 and a few scattered through the middle. I'm like, well, people have told me that it's good. And when I mentioned on some show or my channel or something, people really went for it. The Airborne stories look predictable and outdated. Sure, the artist is wonderful. Please tell me I'm wrong about the stories. Oh, I don't know. But the thing about it is when I read older comic books, I do look and see what year they came out. And just because they're dated now, that could have been groundbreaking back then. What I'm finding with a lot of indie comics that I read, and I knew this at the time, when I was reading Elementals and even Sandman, in 1988, it still had this mystique. because you got to understand, I'm dated also. It still had this mystique of with the tone, the adult tones, the adult themes, the adult things they had in there. The way they treated sex and violence realistically and stuff like that, you feel like you shouldn't have been reading it. You know what I mean? Like as a kid, you're like, this is taboo. Airboy meets Green Lantern, that would be cool. If they made a seriously great period. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Alrighty. So these are off eBay, right? Right here, these next four, these books right here. And I laugh. I started this out. Let me get that off here so we can move on. So I started out at flea markets finding these books for 99 cents a piece. Everybody was telling me to read them. Everybody was saying that this is the book, the greatest thing ever. I picked up a few issues that were in the. I know exactly what I got. Is it right here beside me? Oh, I just had to reorganize, didn't I? Well, anyway, I got a few issues here and there, and I read the book. And I was like, if this was 88, 89, 90, this thing is just as good as every book that was at the stands back then. So now everybody's got a book that has a little bit of substance and being written well and stuff. And everybody I felt were losing their mind. And then I got the earlier issues. I got a director's cut of 1 and number 2. And then I got the original issues of like 6 through 10 or something. And then I got around to an issue that absolutely blew me away. It was the perfect balance of science fiction. I felt universal monster horror in there, and they were in space, and the Hulk is plotting and planning and all this stuff. Then I got it, and I came live, and I was very humble, and I was like, yes, I agree. You guys are correct. This is a great series. I bend the knee. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, man. You got to win me over. You got to win me over with story and stuff, right? But I started out as doing it just like as, I guess, a rib, because I was finding these books for 99 cents a piece in flea markets, going to a comic book convention not 30 minutes away from the flea market, and people were trying to charge $20 to $40 a piece. And I was just like, that's ridiculous. No way, and all that stuff, right? So, anyway, I found these for, I'm positive all 4 of these were 99 cents. If not, maybe one of them was like $3. I don't know because of a bid war. But somebody got on there, and I think they had the first 3 years of the Immortal Hulk for 99 cents. Number 1 went for $18. I got beat for by a quarter. Oh, so bad. Anyway, but here's number 3, the Art Adams ones. And apparently the Alex Ross covers are usually $5 more. Let me back up there. The value of these books, apparently the Alex Ross covers are about $20 a piece there for a while. Anything else like Art Adams or whatever are $15 a piece in value. Like I said, 99 cents a piece. I have probably got over at least 30 issues or more of this series, everything being 99 cents or a dollar or less, right? And these were 99 cents, right? So here's number 3 with a variant cover. This is the Art Adams cover I would have got anyway. Like I said, this is $5 less than the Art Adams one. No biggie. I'm an Art Adams fan. I'm an Alex Ross fan. Don't get me wrong. And then we jump up to number 23, where he's fighting the Abomination. And here's number 21 with an Alex Ross cover that is very Watchmen-like. Look at that. There's a theme going on. That could very well be Ozymandias. Who knows? Maybe that's what they're trying to do here, right? But anyway, 99 cents a piece, Immortal Hulk. It is just a game now. It is a game for me to see if I can get this entire series for 99 cents, a dollar or less per issue. I'm going to shoot to try to get a good deal on number 1. I think it would be super arrogant. I don't think it'd be realistic to think that I could get number 1 for 99 cents, or I'm stuck on that 99 cents because this eBay auction came in 2-3 days ago. But anyway, for like a dollar or less, I got the director's cut number 1 and the director's cut number 2 for $1 a piece. Some of them were a little bit less than $1 because I remember the second time I found a bunch of Immortal Hulk, I just made a big stack of dollar books and got something like 13 books for $10 or something, right? So yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's a game. This is part of the fun. I ordered this off of eBay. This thing retailed for I think $8. we're going to say that I got this for maybe $3.99. Took forever to come in. I think it came up from Florida, right? But anyway, this is The World's Finest by Mark Waid, the series going on now, number 20. You guys know how I hark on modern books. We're going to keep off from that. You can go to Instagram to see what I reviewed this as, right? But this is Mark Waid, some artist who's doing their best that they can do. Even the fucking colors got on my nerves in this, right? But anyway, this is number 20. This is the beginning of Mark Waid taking the characters and visiting Kingdom Come. So I get this book. I already had the next two issues pre-ordered. I realized I missed the first one because I don't, I'm like, I'm not doing it. It's a modern book, right? Well, I was right. Let's put it that way, right? Very mediocre story in between these pages of this fantastic foil variant cover. I usually could give a crap about variant covers, but when I see a nice comic, I see a nice comic. You know what I mean? I see a nice cover, I see a nice cover, right? I don't have to have a variant. I don't have to have the original, but when I see something nice, I was like, that's cool. That's appropriate. A foil metallic variant cover, and look at that. It's a metal helmet. That means something. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's Mayhawk, you know. So very cool cover. That's why I'm not really regretting buying it, but so far I'm not blown away, right? Okay. These all right, guys. Now these are the books combined with that other set I told you about on the 39th anniversary sale, to where these people were going to want 74. I think they said $74, and after the 39% discount, it came to like $44, $42, something like that. And I'm like, no. So I ended up getting these. And you saw the books, the Green Lantern and all that stuff like that. Well, these are the books that I got where I walked through. I said, tell me what you charge and stuff like that. $16. $16 for this stack. So, yeah, with the discount, the 39% discount. $16. Okay. Still, you know, without the discount, I wouldn't have paid what they were wanting, whatever it came to be, right? But we got a Homage Studios Strangers in Paradise #1. This had several different covers. I now have 2 or 3 of these of the #1. I don't know what volume to tell you this, but that's Terry Moore's Strangers in Paradise. And as I go back and reread them, I can tell the 90s have really gone by. Ended up double dipping a few times here, right? Because, like I said, they were busy. I was having them do me one comic book at a time, explain it to me. But I have some original Tales of Bean World from Eclipse Comics. I double dipped here, right? Maybe I did it on purpose. I don't know. Number 8. Number 8. A little rough shape. And number 19. And I'm actually imagining, I don't know the print runs and stuff, but I'm thinking the further along some of these series went, maybe lower the print run. Now, Tales of Bean World, I've got this twice. I found a trade, I think at a comic book shop, and then I found another trade on sale or something on Amazon. It's quite it's a whole different experience reading Bean World than any other comic book I've ever read. I totally get why this thing had a fan following and may still do that. That's very interesting. I'm just completing my new universe run. That's all there is. I was there at the beginning. I missed out on a lot of great comics, budgeting the old allowance there, thinking I was on the verge of being there to with a new universe at the beginning. And that was the whole selling point. That was the whole marketing. You missed 1961, but 25 years later, you can be there now. And this is before the 90s, guys, where everybody had a universe. A lot of dead universes out there to collect, right? One of my favorite ones was Cyforce because I actually dressed it like that kid at the very front. I mean, high tops, white shoelaces, but I had weaved neon yellow laces to make a checkerboard on my high tops. I had the camo pants. I had a vest more than a jacket. I wore denim jackets and stuff back then, right? But yeah, I mean, I didn't know that's why, but but when I read this, I felt the Forever People in there. I felt a few things, a little Stephen King. It felt like, and I have #1, but this, I see a #1. I'm just gonna get an upgrade there, right? Didn't get number 10 for some reason, or I double dipped. Maybe it's I got the wrong issue. Number 12. But yeah, I've got like a complete set of Justice, a complete set of DP7, a complete set of Starbrand, all the number ones. Some of those were stinkers. I don't really care to try. I got a complete set of Night Mask. I think I'm not going to get Merc. I'm not going to get Spitfire and the Troubleshooters. I'm always trying to get a second set of this completed. I think I'm down to needing 2 books. And for anybody interested, there's a playlist where I went through the entire run of Planetary up to issue, I don't know, 17 or 18, where I was breaking down each issue of Planetary, talking about what Warren Ellis was doing in this, right? And bless their hearts, by the time I got to the end of that, I would do these shows and people would comment and be like, come on, finish Planetary, do another one. Or I'd get a message here and stuff like that. And bless their hearts, the last one I did, all 41 people who had asked for that, all 41 people watched. So, but anyway, this is issue 16. I think I need number 9, and I can't remember the other issue. And I'll have a complete set of Planetary, even the one shots and stuff, the crossover with the Justice League, that kind of thing, crossover with Batman and stuff like that. And what I'm planning on doing, if I ever get around to it, is I have a bunch of the Sword of the Atom stuff. I have, oh my God, why am I going blank? Jack Kirby's Captain. I can't believe I'm going blank on it. Pacific Comics. Anyway, I got another series from Pacific Comics, a complete 13 issues plus the annual by Jack Kirby, and then Planetary, and I'm going to send them off to be bound. Variety in a collection makes it really great. Charlton 66, I went to his house back in like 2017 or 18. And I got to see his bound comics of Atari Force and Night Force and all this stuff like that. And he put the bug on me, so I had to decide what I really wanted. And I think it'd be unique to have a complete set of Planetary to be bound, even though you get an absolute edition and they're in trades. They're probably out of print by now. And then I got this for years. Okay, it took me 20 years, looking on the side, staying offline, trying to get the bargain, keeping it on my mind, to get all 31 issues, 2 annuals, and the 3 Doug Wadley issues from the miniseries. And I'm sure there's something else. Comico. I've heard it Comico. I've heard it Kamiko. I'm going Comico, guys. Anyway, Johnny Quest, and that number 31, number 30 and 31 were impossible to get for years. I get the book. About, I think last year, number 31. Finally found it, plus for a deal. And I put it on Instagram, and I forgot that it would completely share it to Facebook. This has been the only comic book where my Muggle Normie friends on Facebook gave me tons of thumbs up. I think I had like 40 or something. I don't know. It really surprised me. So Johnny Quest really, they got into the story of how, like, I finally completed the series, found the last issue. Then I'm going through this and I find it for $1. Okay. So of course I picked up the last issue of Johnny Quest because I feel like issue 30 and 31 are the hardest ones to find, even harder than the Dave Stevens Jade cover. Excuse me. So yeah, it says a $3 price on it, but I got it for like $1, So yeah. Strike Force Moratori. I got the first 25 issues. It has the original writer there for the first 2 years of this story. It ran to a bit like issue 31, I think. I may have the last 2 issues there somewhere. I don't know, right? But I've had this twice. I've had this entire series twice. So I'm like, I always keep going back to it. But Strike Force Moratori, number 11. This gives me 1 through 25. Of course, the writer changed. There were creative differences. And you can just tell the difference with the writer change. Let's put it that way, right? And this is the book that is infamous, if you're into comic book history, where the writer, the creator, actually got got Marvel by a loophole in the contract. And apparently that was a big thing. Led to him actually leaving the book. And then I see things like this, and I'm like, and I got to remember, there's 2-3 books in here where I got to remember that these are key books. Some of these, not this book in particular, but I got a book here that does sell for anywhere between $30 and $40 without any hype. And it's really not even worth that much, but there's a reason for it. But then I see things like I would get Authority number 1 out of dollar boxes when I see them. I have Authority number 1 at least 3 or 4 times. And now that James Gunn announced the movie, those things shot up to selling for $50 average and stuff, right? I put pictures on Instagram of the ones I could find right away. And people did message me trying to get me to sell them to them, right? And this is another one's book. This is Grant Morrison's first issue on Doom Patrol. To me, this should be a key when it comes to leading up to Vertigo and Vertigo becoming its own brand and things like that. This is one of those books. Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, Neil Gaiman. This is one of those books that led up to it and stuff, right? So Grant Morrison's Crawling from the Wreckage #1. I tell you what, that first year of we'll break it down. First year, the first 12 issues that Grant Morrison was on Doom Patrol, those should be key books. I mean, they changed the game. Now, this is one of the times I could kick myself. I got rid of a huge run in a trade and a bunch of miniseries. I don't know if I'd call it a run. It's a series of miniseries and stuff. And I pick them up every now and then. And I really don't know why I got rid of this. I think I did a thing where I was sort of like, will I ever read this again, and thought I wouldn't. And I turned around and I'm picking up Dawn from Serious Comics, right? I remember getting the #1. God, what year was it? 94? Is that possible? Could it be that far back? But I got the #1 at a comic book shop that lasted a year where I lived. Moonlight Comics, Rod and Curtis, they pop up every now and then. Rod owned it. Curtis and all of them were friends. So I found these in there. So I found the Wizard editions, Genesis editions. I grabbed them all. Cry for Dawn #2. I've met Linsner several times. He's such a great guy. But these are fantastic books. They got a mood of their own. They're a world of their own. The only way I can tell you is that there's a surreal, dreamy feel to them a little bit, about who Dawn is. And then you have things where I've just never seen this, not to touch the earth. So yeah, I grab those every chance I get. And this is fantastic because I forgot about this. I meant to read it the night I got it home. But we got pages from Mike Golden, Adam Hughes, Mike Turner, Brian Stillfreeze, and so on and so on. So this should be cool. Yeah, love that stuff. And as soon as I sold it on eBay, got a fantastic price for them. Of course, I regretted it maybe like a day or two later. Now, they laughed at me about this one issue here, right? They laughed when they saw these young kids running the shop that day, right? And I don't judge, right? And I get it. But people seem to forget there's a whole Wizard special about this and stuff, right? And I think there's like just enough controversy to where like you just found out nobody really gave a shit what other people thought. They turned around and Wizard was doing the half issues. And then in the 90s, there was this bad girl / good girl thing going on. Lady Death, I'm pretty sure, probably like Lady Death and Dawn and a few books. I could probably, if we tracked it down, Vampirella is probably the first one. But everybody started getting these female versions of themselves, or the rise of female characters like Razor and She and Kabuki and things like that. But then you had the ones that were a little bit more TNA, right? And they got Esteban Maroto on this one, right? And excuse me for not having the correct enunciation to respect that Latina heritage. And I'm being serious there. It's not a political correctness thing, man. I just really wish I just want to be respectful is what I'm trying to get at. But anyway, Lady Rawhide half issue from Wizard. I picked up Lady Rawhide. This ties into Zorro and stuff, right? And I went through and I looked at some of the art. I have a #1 or 2 from one of the mini series that came out or whatever was going on back then. And I was like, oh my God, this is actually good. So yeah, we got a little, yeah, this is the kind of stuff where I want to start using words like, look at the gams on her, look at the gams on that sweet tomato, so, and actually it's signed by the writer as well. I got to make sure that I put that in right when I catalog this. Don McGregor, and introducing Star Wolf, who, you put a set of wings on her and that's Dawn Star from the Legion. Arcanum, I don't know anything about this, but this is also a Wizard half. For you people watching this in the future or that do not know, I got one that shows it. I'll go ahead. I went ahead and bought these, even though they don't have the certificate of authenticity, right? But basically, you would buy Wizard Comics and you would have an envelope in the middle of it with 2 pages explaining what to do. And you would have to rip the envelope out, put some checks on it, put a check in there, money order in there, and you would get these half issues. And you had the option of buying multiple copies and stuff, right? I got quite a few of them, got quite a bit of them, but I didn't, at this time, Image there were so many Image Comics and indie books and data universes and stuff. I just didn't fall for everything, right? I got the Boba Fett half, I got the X Files half issue, all this other stuff, right? But like, there's a point in time where I'm not exaggerating. I met a guy who shut his shop down, and he had such a backlog and glut of Image Comics in the 90s that by the end of the 90s, he had taken those books and he had put them in his greenhouse to protect from frost. Yeah, that's how bad it was, right? But anyway, so I just pick up these half issues and stuff when I see them, just to have something interesting to talk about in the collection. Some of them were not bad at all. And then here is Prime Half. This might be my second or third one of this one, but I went ahead and got this one because it does have the certificate that came with it. Wizard, they had better bags. One of these days I'm gonna have to pull out. I rearranged them, but they came out with a fantastic. Well, it'd be interesting to see how they have aged. But they had a comic book bag that they made. It was like a top loader, and then it would. This is close to what they had, but it's not as a tight fit. And of course, it would have a latch or some way to hold the backing board. But what was great about it is that they had a ring of plastic going around it, to where if you dropped it, it would never touch the book. This bends. Okay, this bends. This would affect the book. But what they had didn't. I immediately took those off and put them on like my Watchmen #1 and my Fantastic Four #44 I had back then and stuff like that. So yeah, there was some good stuff. It'll be interesting to see how those have aged now that we're getting around 30 years or more of those bags. So talk about a rebuy. These also came off of I think I have some more in here. These also came off of eBay, but like I said, I probably got these for like $1 also. I bought these off the stand when they came back because I really liked Ian Churchill's art. And James Robinson had been writing Cable. Jeff Loeb. James Robinson came after. And then after this came James Robinson, some artists, where it led up to Joe Casey and Ladron. So I could pull it up. I have it right here somewhere, but I've got quite a collection of Cable now from this series, right? But anyway, I got rid of these in a purge, and I went back and got them because I've been upstairs reading the original Micronauts by Bill Mantlo and Mike Golden after hearing about this for years and building up the collection, falling backwards into them, not even finding them. I mean, I found something like 45 issues that I got for $17 at a pawn shop that I wasn't even looking for, but I couldn't pass that up. I think that's what I paid. I'm in the ballpark. It was a deal like that. And then I was like, oh my God, I had Micronauts books and stuff, right? So I went ahead and rebought these because the Micronauts are in here to see where they're at, what's going on with them. And it has Psycho Man. Plus, it's Jeff Loeb. 9 times out of 10, Jeff Loeb is going to give you a great stories, but 9 times out of 10, he's going to bomb on that ending. So it's a crapshoot, guys. You never know, right? So that was kind of cool, man. But never did I think that Cable would be Ladron doing his Mobius, Jack Kirby plus his thing, the artwork, Joe Casey being able to kind of keep a thing going there. Jeff Loeb always seems to pull from his past and writes characters you can tell he loved and have an excuse to get him in there. A guy just having fun. Fun comics is what I'm trying to get at here. Those are just fun. You're not going to have like some great big huge key after key after key world changing universal event. All right, guys, so I got a few more to go here. Oh man, where are we here? My God, a lot of comics here. Okay, I'm just going to kind of pick a few here. There's quite a few of them, man. Ramos Comics, the Dead Comics universe I've been collecting are the continuity comics. Yeah, I got quite a bit of those. I think the Dead universe that I'm bound to finally have everything they did is Defiant Comics. I really liked Defiant Comics at the time. Now, has it aged well? I don't know. But yeah, I've there, like I said, I think I'm sure, like me, you run across. I know people who just collect Dead universes, Ultra Force, Ultraverse, Ultraverse, and Defiant Comics and Techno Comics, New Universe. I like the New Universe. I always connected to Secret Wars 2 as a universe that was created when the Beyonder dies at the end of the book. Interesting. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I know they explained what the White event was, but that was years, about 3 years after they already got it started. Um, Maybe that would be very cool. They said it would never tie into the Marvel universe, but I like that idea. I like that idea. Is what I'm trying to get at. Oh, what we got here? Sci 4 started off very fun. I think most of them started off very fun. Okay, let me go down here now. Let me see what this is. Well, that last issue of the series ends with the planet Earth with lightning hitting it, and that's what the ad looks like when they were selling the series. That's why I connected it. See, that's what I love about comics is when you see the big pictures and you're able to tie things like that in and stuff like that. I think your theory would have been really cool if that was canon. I would have loved that. All right. Tommy T Dog. Nice to see you. Comics Unlimited is here. Nice to see you. Oh, what's this? Ramos Comics. Hey, I may have done some colors on those cables, like 3 pages to help fill in. Fantastic, man. If you know exactly which ones you did, give me a yell, man. Send me a message. Um, oh my God, I just went blank on his name. Ed Burr. Oh my God, why is this happening? Anyway, another one of your buddies and stuff I found on Marvel Comics Presents from 1990 where he had a backup story and stuff. I try to put those to the side when it's people I've actually talked to in the real world. Um, all right, Comics Unlimited. Thanks for popping in. It's too early. Okay, guys. So I think these were out of dollar boxes as well. Yes, these were out of a dollar box. And I did get a discount because I bought the short box that these were in. So with the short box, this is it, guys. I think this is it looking around. This is it for today. But these were, God, let me think. I got the box. I got that. We'll say these were $10 after I do all the math in my head, right? These, okay, so we got the Heroes Reborn. Less than $1, guys, I think. These Heroes Reborn half issue with Wizard. I do have a box where I keep the Wizard half issues. I keep the 25th anniversary editions of the Marvel Comics that had the border of the superheroes by John Romita, things like that. So yeah, I think I put the facsimile editions in dollar books, and that's just the interesting books, right? Now this is a kicker, man. I don't know how this happened, but I thought I had. There's been twice I thought I had this series completed, and then I was like, hey, I'm going to upgrade it this year too because I bought these when I was 9, and they were tore all to shit. A few of them, right? And then I get home and I do the cataloging, and I'm like, I still am missing issue 16. How did that happen? I have multiple issues of other ones, and for some reason, I keep thinking I have these issues. I even recognize a few of them. I don't know, but when you see what the series is, you're going to be like, oh, you know what I mean, like all that stuff, right? So this is an upgrade. Captain Carrot in the Zoo Crew number 17. Cannonball Run in here. Pig Iron fighting Frankenstein. Oh my God, what did they call him? It's a Frankenstein story and stuff like that. It's 3 different stories in here where each member got to shine a little bit, right? And if you go to my Instagram, you'll see that I posted some pictures of it. The artwork is actually fantastic. The inking is really great in these. These are well crafted books, even if you're not into the funny animal thing, right? Roy Thomas, Scott Shaw, good stuff, right? Love this as a kid. I mean, I was reading this book the same time I was reading the Justice League Justice Society All-Star Squadron with Joe Kubert covers, George Perez covers, crossover event that they were having with Per Degaton and stuff, right? Great times, great memories. And it was around this time I was looking around my room and I'm like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm a comic book collector because I had organized stacks of comics. The Stepdad's my own since about 79. I looked around, I had these magazines. I actually was making stacks, no boxes, no bags and boards. Didn't even know that was a thing. But yeah, it was around this era where I was just like reading everything I could get my hands on and stuff, right? With more understanding and enthusiasm. I always read, I always was a reader. So yeah. You see how excited I get about this stuff? You know, isn't that funny? So number 13 was missing. So I get home and I'm like, great, I finally have that missing issue. I finally have all the issues. And they had almost a full run at the comic book shop that I found this at, right? And then I get home and I'm like, I'm missing issue 16. I'm like, how am I missing issue 16? This is driving me nuts. This has been going on for years. So I make it back to the comic book shop by pure luck. My scheduling and traveling. I'm like, I'm here. I didn't know I was going to be here. Excuse me. I have a little bit of a cold. And then I get in there, and he's the owner of the comic book shop is a great, great guy. This particular comic book shop, great guy, real nice guy. And I go over there, and there's like 3 issues of Captain Carrot left. I said, did somebody buy every issue of Captain Carrot? He said, no, I got my employees going through there thinning the herd. So number 16 is just eluding me now. I'm like, am I ever going to have a complete series? We're going on 41 years, guys. 41 years trying to get 20 issues. I've even met Scott Shaw and had him. I've told the story if many times at Heroes Con and stuff. I've met Scott Shaw 2-3 times now and stuff like that. So issue 16, will it ever happen? I don't know. Got another Dawn for $1. All right. And then I almost pulled the trigger on this, and thank goodness somebody bought them. Okay, right? Because it's not a series I would recommend people to buy. Okay, but to me, it's more about being a fan of what the guy accomplished that did this. Right? I don't know a lot about Drew Hayes, but I got an issue or two of Poison Elves of Series Comics when it came out. When a comic book shop opened near me, and he was having books on the shelves, and I could experiment a little bit finally without trying to go nuts. It's where I found Dawn. Okay, I was able to start getting those issues of Cerebus I always wanted, and back issue bins and stuff like that. Right, it was a great time. I was 20, 21 or something, probably about 21 or 22. Right, and then I found this weird issue of Poison Elves, and this gave me that feeling like, oh, this is evil. I shouldn't be reading this. It gave me that taboo feel. I hadn't felt that in forever. You know what I mean? Um, and it was Poison Elves, and this is a color special. This was a black and white book, right? But I could feel like, God, what did they call it? They didn't have a word for it, but I felt like this was not thrash metal. Anyway, this was, oh my God, how am I going blank? Is it Sepultura? Anyway, I felt Urge Overkill. I felt Raining Blood. I felt, why am I going blank on them? They're a fucking legend. It's too, I'm getting my coffee. Anyway, this felt like Swedish death metal, even though I'm trying to be accurate saying we didn't really know what that was back then, if it even existed, right? But this was just fantastic. This was Dungeons and Dragons. This was like heavy thrash metal and stuff, right? And then somewhere along the line, maybe in the back of one of these issues or something, I saw Drew Hayes, right? He had the long hair. He's a little bit overweight. This is a guy that looked like I would have hung out in high school, even though he's a little bit dark, and you can tell he came off, felt like I knew the guy, is what I'm trying to say, right? And as you can see, what you see is what you get. Elves walking around, smoking. One has a magic handgun with unlimited bullets in it, right? You know what I mean? The guy feels like this could have walked out of Dragon magazine in a way, right? And he's still doing his own thing, right? This felt real and authentic. We have tons of people now making like zines at home, and they making their own comic books and stuff, and going to little conventions trying to sell their stuff, not doing it. That's what this felt like. This felt like some guy who had very limited talent, and he made the absolute most of it. I admired this book. Rough reading it sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I like the story behind the book and the guy. Now, maybe I projected a little bit on there, or maybe I've romanticized what I saw and stuff about him and stuff. But when he passed away, it really was a sad day. I found out more people were fans of his stuff than I knew, thanks to having a YouTube channel, right? So Poison Elves, I'll grab this now. I'm really glad because I found a huge run of it. It would have cost me quite a bit. There was that many issues of it and stuff. So I was really glad to find out that somebody else had bought them. And knowing that comic book shop and the location where it's at, pretty sure it's somebody that was a fan of it and stuff, right? So yeah, that's one of those books where I'm just sort of like, I wished I could have met the guy and talked to him. Now this is what, yeah. Oh, what we got here? Paolo's popped in here. Paolo. And now I'm drinking the after lunch brandy my dad got for his birthday. Fantastic. This is a great time to do it. That is some good brandy. I'm, I'm more of a clear liquor drinker if I have to drink. All right, 42, 43, 41. Now, you can go on eBay and you're going to see this book. And watch this be the one time that you go on there and it's like, we'll be there, right? But I've seen this book sell up to $40. This is my second one. And if you follow spec channels and stuff, you're not going to know about it, right? Following these spec channels, I'm telling you, you're going to hurt yourself. I don't care if you have the app or whatever that tells you that everything's a key, because everything's a key if you go buy those, right? But this book has a niche market. This is things you're not going to learn on. Um, you're not going to learn unless you get out there and do this on your own, right? But there are certain books that are worth money only to a niche market, or people who are in the know and hope they can tap that niche market to maybe resell it one day and write stuff, right? But I've already found one. This is my second one. And I went ahead and bought the issues around it so I can actually read it, right? But it has to do with death, right? So this is issue 41 of Captain Atom, and apparently something happens to where he dies. And when he dies, we get this metaphysical story. And he drifts into a warm emptiness, and he does not ever want to return, right? So we have people expanding and trying to write some deep stories on certain books like Captain Atom. But anyway, he dies, and he starts meeting aspects of death. And there's the Black Racer from Jack Kirby. I think Necron or something from Green Lantern pops up and everything. But then he also meets Neil Gaiman's Death in 1999. The character is probably less than a year and a half old, if that. And this is the first time that Neil Gaiman's Death, has popped up in a DC comic. Now, Neil Gaiman was not upset because there's sort of a gentleman's agreement that he'll be called or talked to and just kind of see if he's all right with his characters being used. They didn't really have to do it that much. He didn't really get upset that Death popped up in this, but he got upset. He wasn't upset, but he corrected them, saying she's not an aspect of Death. She is Death. So people in the know, Sandman brought in a whole different audience in the comics that it's its own. There are people who just got Neil Gaiman stuff, just got Sandman, and they just got Sandman for Death. You know what I'm saying? So this became a collectible, and is still a collectible for people in the know. I have a Legion of Superheroes, Volume 4, number 38. I think it's the issue, and Death is in it also. Action Comics had her in Death a couple, 10, 11 years ago or something. But this is the one where it's her first appearance in the DC universe, right? And I also got the issue after it with Necron, who ended up being something in Blackest Night, going all the way back to mid-3-issue miniseries. Green Lantern tells the Green Lantern Corps, something in 80 or 81 or something. But anyway, this always cracks me up when I run across this. And honestly, if they're in bad shape, I don't get them. This was actually almost mint. Whoever's collection this was, they did well. Oh, Corona and Brandy. Yes. Bad Avenger. I'll keep an eye out for Captain Carrot 16 for you. Around here, they pop up pretty frequently. Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Loves 80s Captain Atom, but hates Booster Gold. Tim, we have to kidnap you and educate you. No, I'm good, man. Booster Gold, I would probably be a fan of Booster Gold if they would just make him the villain that he is. You know what I mean? His attitude, his greed, his narcissism, his very origin, he's a villain. You know what I mean? Make him a villain and I'm probably on board, What we got here? Back. Whoa. Easy there. Back. Whoa. Hold on. Okay. Back from my bike ride and you're still going. We're about to wind up here. Okay. So let me show these first. Make sure I haven't missed anything here. This is I have moved over my collection of Captain Carrot and the Amazing Zoo Crew and his Oz Wonderland War and stuff into this box with these new boxes because I'm redoing things. Probably going to put my turtles in here, my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff in here. But anyway, we did some upgrades. And I always bring this up when I get onto it because it really amazed me. I have a trade of these issues. And when I got this trade, I think I could be wrong, but it's documented in a video somewhere in a haul video. But there was oh God, where was it? Winchester, Virginia, which is probably about 4 or 5 hours from me. When I would be driving for work on my journeys and stuff, I would hit the hotel, go get something to eat, and where I would eat would have a bookstore there, right? Books a Million probably. And for 4 or 5 months, I kept seeing this trade from 2014. A little bit beat up, but I've actually repaired it. Luckily, there was no creases. The bending and the warping was just from being on a shelf, and I've been able to flatten it and do a few things, and it's very passable. Not even a lot of scruff, wear on it and stuff, right? But this Legion of Superheroes reprints from 297 to 313 of the Legion of Superheroes, Volume 2, I think. The series started out as Superboy, became Superboy and Legion of Superheroes, and then got handed to them. So it's Volume 2. Okay. Anyway, but I feel that from issue about 290 to 313, and maybe a little bit past that, is a run of comics that is right up there in this era, 1983 ish, this era of Teen Titans being done by Marv Wolfman and George Perez, and the X-Men going back a little bit, X-Men by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. This is right up there with it. What's amazing me is I got this on clearance. It's sat there forever. Like I said, I think I got this for $10. I might have to try to find the video. But as I was looking for some of these things on eBay, and I just kind of looked this up to see if I can get it for a friend, I turned around and saw that this thing is worth some money, I guess, because it's out of print. I saw this thing going for $40 to $75 about a month or two ago. So I don't know. So I had those books. Those books I read as they came out. I was right there, but it was after the Great Darkness saga where they brought in Darkseid. I came in probably around issue 296, 298. But anyway, I was reading the Silver Age Legion. I always read the Mike Grell stuff from the 70s. We had that in the house, right? Plus, my first book was like Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes 2. I don't know what it was, 255 or something. I still have the book over here in the, whatever. And then I was getting these, but somewhere on the line, these two books got destroyed. This is right before we got to the point, about a year later, I think, where they started reprinting the Baxter series. That was, coming out. But anyway, ended with the curse and stuff. And believe it or not, these were actually kind of hard to find in great shape. They would be in dollar bins and tore up, but nicer copies were like $4 and $5. I don't know. So yeah, I can talk Legion all day long. Anyway, so then I found this in dollar bins for fun. My era of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I would love to say 1984 when it all started. But it was around 86 that I heard about them. And then when I saw them on the cartoon about a year later, I was just sort of like, oh, this is surreal. But my era of Turtles is 86 to about 92, the end of City at War, with Mirage Studios and stuff, right? And I'm fine with that. Anything after that, I don't get upset. I don't lose my mind with different interpretations and things. The 1990 movie was fantastic. That weird stuff they did in even the stuff that Eric Larson was behind in the 90s, where they did some weird stuff with the turtles and all the stuff going on. Turtles have survived, right? So anyway, this is TMT presents April O'Neil. I think this was 3 issues from Archie Comics. Even the Archie Comics Turtles series that started in 90, I had the first issue and a few of those. I'm good with all that stuff. That's just a great era. So yeah, April O'Neil, And then I cannot believe I got this. I just talked a little while back about the glut of Image Comics and how I knew a guy who had owned a comic book shop, and by the end of the 90s, he had gone out of business, and he had so many Image books that he was stuck with. We're talking long boxes and long boxes, that he actually stacked them up in conjunction with his greenhouse to keep the frost off. That's what he was doing with them. That I never thought I would back up and get a lot of that stuff. Now, you guys know me, man. If I find out a writer's on it, like Kurt Busiek or something like that, the Regulators or things I remember, there's still some good stuff scattered in there. But there was a glut of really bad stuff in there. Just no two ways about it, right? And I remember when Bloodstrike came out, I was like, oh my God, not again, right? Well, Keith Giffen passes away. And I'm going through my stuff that I have of all his books, just kind of talking about it. Paolo and I did a show 2, 3 weeks ago. And in the midst of doing all that stuff, somewhere on the line, I can't remember if I got messaged or if I saw it on his Wikipedia page or something. Uh, but anyway, I found out that he did Bloodstrike. And I found I don't know, the first 10 issues of Bloodstrike or something in this box when I was doing all this stuff. There's several issues of #1 and everything like that. Now there is no way in the world I can believe that this will ever be worth money, but it's kind of wild. I mean, I don't know, but it's Keith Giffen, and when Keith Giffen, I was sort of interested to see what Keith Giffen would do. At a place where he's the superstar, he's already established in my mind, and he could probably do whatever he wanted. So yeah, Bloodstrike #1. I don't know how many issues Keith Giffen did. I saw I flipped through up to issue 6 and saw that he was still there. So, but like I said, they had about 10 issues of this stuff. This is as far as I can go when it comes to like this era of Image until I read this, right? So yeah, Keith Giffen plot breakdowns in this. That cracked me up when I saw that. I mean, it was just pure luck. I saw it. I think somebody told me about it. I think I got a message. I think somebody was like, "Hey, man, you might want to check this out." And they had. I'll have to go back and look at my messages. So I am convinced that I am missing something here, and I had this out for some reason, but I'm gonna go ahead and show this. So maybe I had this out because I forgot to show it. But when I got my last Gmart haul, there was a book or two that I found out I did not show. Like I picked up a stack to move it to the side, and apparently got a few books. But this is saying that this came in 4/1/2023. April 1st is when this came out. But this is a book that came in my last Gmart order, my online comics where I get the new stuff. I'm getting really close to having another haul video pretty soon when that comes in. But this is Batman: The Adventures Continue, Season 3, #4. And I had to get this because this is a absolutely fabulous Brian Boland man-back cover. This looks like something that would be right on the front cover of the Inquirer or whatever tabloid had Batboy or something. This is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I want a poster of this. So, and I also love how like we got a full page on we got the full effect, a full frame of the cover here, or whatever you want to put it, and so we can enjoy the artwork. No logo in the way. Okay, guys. I'm going to check to see if there's anything else anybody's asking, talking about, any ideas for future videos, anything you want me to talk about. Like, I really have opinions on like AI and stuff like that, of what's going on, what I'm seeing, and tell you the stories of why I'm thinking it. What do we got here? Matt Venger showed up. Jared is back from his bike ride. We're enjoying brandy with Paulo. I love I had that trade in hardcover. Bought it as the follow-up to the Great Darkness Saga. It's not a storyline, but it's an interesting continuing soap opera. Yeah, I would love to. We need to do a show, Paolo, where we break down those issues if you're up for it, right? And I even have the Great Darkness Saga as floppies. I had the 80s trade. Whatever you want to do, man. I could see like a 2-3 parter of taking our time with this Legion stuff. It's fantastic. Really fantastic stuff. What we got here? The Bat Venger, hope you're well. Everybody saying hello. Yeah, good luck quitting cigarettes. I was able to break the habit 3 times, but finally did it. You never know it'll be worth anything. Saw a guy trying to sell a Slab Brigade #2 for $89 once. Didn't know. Yeah, talking about Brigade. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I really can't see that. Love Stormwatch and Supreme. Yeah, absolutely. I have the first appearance of Supreme. I have all the Alan Moore issues. I even have 1 or 2 issues of Eric Larson when he had a leftover Alan Moore script or something and tried to hang in there with it. Those Supreme issues by Alan Moore are just fantastic, man. Why hasn't Martin Silence created a man bat yet? Who says they haven't there, Tuck? Who says they haven't? There could be all kinds of things we don't know about. That in the 80s, you had the conspiracy theorists on their ham radio talking about UFOs and stuff like that. And now we live in a time where what sounded like insane rabble and stuff in the 80s, conspiracy theory and paranoia. We live in a time where people are so distrustful of the government and it's like paranoia that when they say aliens are real, we don't believe them. Isn't it amazing? Why don't you compare the different Crow comics? I have the hardback trade. I have the trade from '94. I have the not was it Tundra? I have to see Caliber Tundra. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Whenever I do Crow, I get very melancholy, and the book actually kind of makes you go to dark places sometimes. I find it a very emotional piece of art. That's why I consider it art. Is with the Crows because of the feelings that it can bring up for some people. All about what you've been through in your life. What we got here? Parker, is Ambush Bug a lock with James Gunn? Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Um, Here's what's sad. If he ends up being a lock, I haven't heard news. I have seen people on X, and I do call it X. I've seen people on X. I remember a few. I don't know when it was. I just got back. They were talking. They were showing Ambush Bug to him and stuff, right? But we live in a world now that if they brought Ambush Bug, people would think he was a ripoff of Deadpool. When Ambush Bug, when you compare the two, was the original. So I'd say just let it go, man. You know what I mean? Out for coffee with the Rents and Cousins. Bye if you're done before I get back. Hey, later, man. And Crack is here. Good morning. All right. Friar Tuck, what is X? Twitter. Yeah. Yeah. And I go there sparingly. He's changed the name to X. It's been X for a while. People still want to refer to it as Twitter. And it's called X. It's his company, or however that works. He's changed the name. I have no nostalgic feelings for it. I had Twitter from 2009 or 10, if I remember right. Uh, I had it for a good year before Dan Slott lost his mind. I was there watching live when Dan Slott was saying "f you" to a fan and some other people or whatever was going on, and I got less and less. I used it less and less over the years to where I eventually got rid of it, and then I came back just to have it because there was people taking the Howler Mouse handle and on Reddit and some other places. I actually got a few messages of people being like, "I didn't know you were such an ass," and I was like, "That's not me." So I got back on there when it was still Twitter. I can't remember. Oh, I mean, it's right there. You can go back and look at me. I'm Howler Mouse on there, Howler Mouse One or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I kept an account on certain social media because people were using somebody or people were using the Howler Mouse handle, and some Reddit user in the mid 2000s or something really had a few people mad at me, but we see where that went, no biggie. Oh, probably more of an explanation than you wanted. And I think we're going to call it a day, guys. Still on Facebook. Yeah, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah. I don't really, yeah, whatever. I still remember MySpace. I had a moment where I kind of missed MySpace. I like being able to have a theme of a page and a theme song when I came on. My theme song was the Pink Panther theme. I kind of missed that. Oh, anyway, you guys have a great Sunday. Thanks for everybody that popped in here, man. We're off the daylight savings time. We can have decent, we got an hour of our lives back. And I might be able to do these at a normal rate on Sundays now and stuff, right? Because I never, ever adjust to daylight savings time. Never. All my life, never. I'm always an hour behind. And Gore has popped in here. We have to say hello to Gore before we say goodbye. Good morning, Tim. Return to X. Is this a good idea for one's mental health? Moderation, my friend. Moderation. Actually, you can, I've actually had one or two times where I saw something on X that made me mad, and then I go away for a while. So I still hold that for whatever reason, X parentheses Twitter, for whatever reason, I don't know what the deal is, but the worst of the worst will go there. And if you hang out there too long, you're going to think the world is the worst place ever. You know what I mean? Like you're just going to think that it's all garbage. If if we had the aliens say, give us the thumb up or thumb down if you want the world to survive. If somebody lives on Twitter, they're more likely going to give a thumb down. Twitter just makes everything through their lens. I don't know why. I don't know how these people. I don't know why it's like that there. You know, no matter what you look up, no matter who you're following, be it just there. I mean, I'm there for music. There's a lot of music things that I follow on there, and a few movie things. I do follow James Gunn, but no matter what it is, it's just the worst of the worst. God Almighty, yeah. Anyway, might have to just do a separate video about the pitfalls of social media or my opinions of them. All right, good to see you, Easy Comic Reader. Uh, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about daylight savings time ending, but they'll do something stupid to where they won't change it back to what it should be if they do end it. Yep, Sequential Geek, it is the worst place. That's so true. Social media can give you a very twisted perception of reality, and it's not reality. That's what gets me. It really is not even a fraction of a reflection of reality. The only thing that's reality is that for some reason all these horrible people can find each other, and then they seem to attract people who want to feel like they're part of a group. So they say things that they don't mean, they don't believe in, and they mimic the behavior. I don't get it. I don't get how did Twitter. You don't see this on other places. Everybody has assholes on their social media, but something about Twitter is the place they're all there, the worst of the worst. Anyway, everybody have a great Sunday. Everybody watch yourself on X. Read your comics, get your comics. Like I said, the biggest thing I'm working my way through now, besides what I've shown here, Sandman Mystery Theater. I'm loving reading those 70 issues from the 90s, and I'm finally making my way through Micronauts. I should have the first year probably read by the end of the day and stuff. So, like I said, just like, subscribe, sub, and might do actual videos or a short live stream where I just kind of talk a little bit about what I'm reading and what I think. And people have such love for Micronauts that I get it, and fresh eyes and a fresh perspective. And somebody doesn't have the nostalgia, I got a few things to say, but I kind of get it. All right, guys, later. Right.